Before we start the show, just a word from our sponsor, Undeniable Press. For all your screen printing needs, located in the Corktown district of Detroit, Michigan. If you ever need any t-shirts or any other little promo accessories, posters, or whatnot printed up for you, go to Undeniable Press. They're located, once again, in the Corktown district of Detroit, Michigan, and you can reach them at facebook.com/undeniablepressdetroit. And those same guys who do Undeniable Press also have a clothing line called 20 by 20 Apparel. It's very much wrestling themed, all sorts of nostalgic themes in regards to the history of wrestling. And you can go check out their clothing line at 20x20apparel.com. That's the number 20x, the number 20apparel.com. Now let's start the show.
Fresh is the word.
I'm Jim Duggan, got long wood for plenty hoes. I keep it fresher than fresh, but you already know. You suckers bummy, I'm money, I got a ton of flows. My weed loud like a motherfucking thunder roll. Your shit quiet like you ballin' on a budget though. We see your kicks and we laugh and yellin' what are those. You see me shining like a suit on puffy. You know my grindin' shit is too strong, buddy. That's why the dude call money. I be stuntin' like it's nothing at all. Cause it's nothing to me, it's probably something to y'all. Trying to smoke like me, then come and fuck with your dog. Got a closet full of kicks, you can't cop it them all. And I'm fresher than the freshest, you can tell it's in my essence. Bitch, you see the way I'm rapping, yes I do this shit to death. Until I'm running out of breath, or tell somebody cut a check. But either way you know it's fresh, and either way you know it's fresh. Fresh, we fresh. Fresh, 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 goddammit, we fresh. Fresh, fresh, goddammit, we so damn fresh.
Welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, and this is episode 92. And this week's guest is the Detroit-born musician, producer, and composer, Zoe, who you might remember was Cy Smith's recommendation back on episode 82. Zoe has built a great independent music career for himself as both a solo artist and a member of the Foreign Exchange Collective. With a career spanning since the early 2000s, Zoe is a prime example of doing it on your own terms. During our interview, we talk about his beginnings in music, becoming an independent artist, his time as a school teacher, what it took to make music into a serious career, and his time with the Foreign Exchange. So let's get into the interview with Zoe. You are somebody that I've known for a long time now, since the Renaissance Soul days. Yeah. I remember you used to send me your CDs. I think the first CD that you ever sent me was Passion and Definition.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense, because that was the first pro press joint that I did.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I probably still have that CD somewhere. But you always, you're one of those people that sort of built up your musical career, your fan base, definitely from the ground up. And you've been a part of, so many great projects, whether it's yourself or being a part of the Foreign Exchange. When you look back right now, sort of thinking back to that whole journey, what really pops in your head about how you were able to make it for so long?
I think mainly just persistence. Also coupled with a love for it, man, because I tell people all the time, especially, cats that are coming up brand new or students that I've had, who ask for advice as far as, what can I do now? What am I able to do to, I don't know. I don't even know if make it in the music industry is even a thing anymore, but, I guess to become, to work on your name and work on your product and all that stuff. And first of all, you have to love it. Because as much as rewarding as music has been, it's been equally, there's the other side as well, as far as, me wanting to pull out hair that I don't even have. So I think the love is what sustains you. Hitting little landmarks, hitting little goals here and there, as well. Um, a lot of people's feedback. I mean, you get people sometimes. I had a guy here recently who, hit me and was like, "Yo, man, I had, he had lost his father. Um, I think it was maybe a year ago, and he was like, I can't remember what song it was, but I think it may have been Greater Than the Sun. He was like, I played Greater Than the Sun for my pops, and he loved it, and this was like a couple days before he passed." And he was like, that song, kept our family together and that type of thing. So I mean, even stories like that, it's like, yo, man, um, me doing music, and what I tell people is like, you doing music, somebody needs it, somebody wants it. Like there's a need and a want for what you're doing, and that's what kind of keeps me going when I hit like a valley point.
How are you able to sort of balance the love of it all, the love of music, with the economics of it all?
That's the part. Um, and I guess
That's the $1 million question that everybody has.
man, and yeah, man. Sometimes I don't know, man. It's sometimes it's on a month to month basis. There's no contracts with this. There's no insurance plans with this. You have to really run it like a small business. And just like small business owners, just like entrepreneurs, we take a lot of risks. It's very much high risk, high reward. And I think that going back to just where we come from, just, the Detroit hustles harder mantra is very, very true. Cause I mean, we're all blue collar. And we get our hands dirty. We're not afraid to get down and go get it. And I think that's kind of part of it. I mean, it's very much a hustle. It's you're definitely gonna get back what you put in, man. And I try to put in twice as much, just because sometimes I know I know it gets rough economically, honestly.
Yeah, speaking of, where you come from,
Mhm.
when did you first start getting that inkling that you wanted to do music? When did that bug hit?
It wasn't until late, man, because I mean, before that, it was, I thought I was gonna go to the majors. I was working on that hustle. um, my thing up until I was 22 years old was baseball. So the way that I'm passionate about music right now was the way I was passionate about sports, and um, trying to break into the league some kind of way. And I think eventually what happened there was, well, number one, my knees got bad, and number two, I started losing. I started losing love for the game of baseball. I started losing love for kind of the politics around it. I think once I started playing college ball, I started seeing more of the business side, um, and it really didn't appeal to me. So I mean, once it ended, um, I started putting forth more effort into music, and I don't know, it just kind of took off. I mean, I had already learned how to play piano and taken lessons and all that as a young kid. Um, but as far as me wanting to do it um, full time, it wasn't until I was like 23, 24, almost 25 years old, when I would make stuff and then get feedback from some of my friends and some of my musical peers who I respected, and they were giving back positive feedback, and I was like, oh well, shit, I may have something here.
Right. What parallels did you see from your time, trying to be a baseball player that would ultimately help you in the music industry?
Man, that's a really good question, because I say all the time it parallels very heavily, as far as the work regimen, the practice regimen. Baseball and sports, in general just teaches you pretty much just how to be disciplined, even as far as like being on time for stuff. Um, going harder, when you're in the weight room and you're working out with your teammates, you got folks pushing you and you're able to, reach different levels that you didn't even know that you can hit. And applying that same principle to music, it helps out a whole lot because, you're able to, I don't know, I'm like naturally competitive. So, I kind of see the entire just, I see my peers as even some of my teammates I see as my not necessarily opposition, but my competition, and it's friendly competition. Um, like for example, with me and Fonte and Nicolay, I mean, the three of us have a friendly competition. If Nick is releasing something, I'm like, oh man, I want to release something that's better than that. And he feels the same way about me, and the same with Tay. It makes all three of us sharper at our craft, I think.
Right, you guys are always putting out stuff around the same time.
Exactly. So it's kind of a battle, but it's like an unwritten, unspoken, type of thing. But like I said, I mean, when it comes time to come together on stuff, and when it comes time to be on stage and perform together or collaborate on some music, you better believe you're gonna get the A1 stuff because I'm not sending no bullshit to Tay, and I'm not in the studio with Nicolay, just tinkering around on keys or the bass or whatever. Like we're we're pretty much in the studio, not necessarily, almost kind of like trying to impress each other. And with that, comes the ultimate product, I think.
Right, you guys are like kind of like a baseball team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. With the role players and everything, that it's really interesting how it works. And I love how it works. I love how it works out.
And you kind of you spoke about how like when you're in that sports mentality, you always have other people to sort of push you.
Yeah,
Sometimes in music, that just doesn't happen. There's a lot of yes men around and whatnot.
yeah,
How do you
yeah.
sort of get around that in music?
Um, that's where you got to kind of have to do a self check. I think. Um, keep the folks around you who have kind of sweated it out with you from the jump. I know for a fact that if Tay or Nick, you know, doesn't necessarily like something that I hand to them, they're gonna let me know. It's not gonna be, oh man, this is fire, and from the bottom of your heart, like it's not, like they're just kind of saying it just to kind of gas you up. Like nah, it's very much uh it's very much a blunt type of thing, and and vice versa. Like we have a very legitimate quality control system. You got to be honest, man. You got to be honest with your peers, um, and also, it's not, it's only maybe three people that I will send my stuff to in the beginning anyway. Um, so I don't know, and I guess it's kind of cliche to keep that circle small, but it really helps, man, especially as far as quality control and keeping the yes man out of there, and all of that stuff. And I mean, we're not raking in millions of dollars to where we're really exposed to a lot of yes men like that. Um, so I guess that kind of helps. So we're still able to be very very hands on with our creative process, and also with folks who are able to hear it first.
During this time when you were transitioning out of the baseball world and you were sort of figuring out things being a musician, who were those sort of mentors, those people that you looked up to at that time that were giving you, the positive feedback in regards to your music?
As far as live shows, the first people I got with was the Gorilla Funk Mob. So they kind of taught me, just how just kind of how that kind of goes as far as rehearsals and shows and sound check, all this kind of technical stuff regarding uh, music and what's being released and that type of thing. My man John Doe in Atlanta, DJ used to be for Prophetics, um, and Waajeed. Waajeed was a big part of that in the beginning when he and I finally met, and ironically 2 hours later did stay with me. After that, he was a guy that I would kind of bounce ideas off of, or he was one of the first ones that was like, yo man, you gotta move. Like you gotta leave Michigan, man. Like, you gotta expand. And I clearly remember having that talk with him. But he was a big one. And then of course, a year later I met Fonte, and Fonte became that guy. So those are probably the main three or four.
Yeah, you've been able to sort of take your own sort of journey, your own sort of lane doing your music. When you're
Yeah.
hearing advice from people like that, especially what Waajeed said, what was some of the things that you ended up doing? What was some of those first steps to, sort of going on your own journey?
Well, the first big step was me getting fired from a sales job. Actually, I guess I didn't get fired. I don't know what I got. I guess I did get fired. I don't. I was able to collect unemployment, so shit. I guess I did get fired. I don't know. But nah, it was really funny, man, because I was working this. It wasn't pharmaceutical sales. It was medical supply sales in like '03 and '04, and they were slowly letting individually each one of the sales force, they were letting everybody go. So it was just to a point where we were just waiting to get our call. And I ended up getting my call, went back to Troy, in the office where it was based and all that. And they ended up letting me go. And not too long, I was looking for another job, a pharmaceutical job. And I remember getting in the interview, and I had oh, what's it called? Not a flip book. I can't think of the name of it. But it's basically a book of you, where it's pictures, it's however you want to do it, pictures, narration, text, all this kind of stuff. And I kind of put this book together, and I slid it on the table to the lady, and she's looking through it, and she was like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "Huh?" She was like, "Why don't you do music? Like, why don't you just?" Because everything I had in there was music related.
Right.
So, I got me on the keys, I got me on the bass. I think I had a picture of me on the drums. She was like, "Why aren't you doing music? Like, why aren't you, blah blah blah?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess you're right." And I remember leaving there and getting on the phone, got my parents on the phone, and I'm thinking they're gonna meet me with some type of opposition, and they were basically like, "Yo, man, we're behind you 150%." And I was like, "Huh?" And pretty much from there, it was like, I knew I could do it. Because I'm like, yo, I've got my parents co-signing this. So, what's anybody else gonna say to me? And, that's pretty much what I did until I moved to Maryland in '06. Of course, at that time I had to get a job because, I mean, you can't live out on the East Coast with
No.
starting out with no job. That's pretty much just not gonna happen. Um, but I mean, it was. Then I started like a sales job here, and then I started teaching music. So I was able to teach what I was doing, and also kind of include what I was doing with the kids that I was teaching. Um, and then that school closed. So then, that was 2011. I've been doing music full time ever since. So it was kind of a progression. And even with that so-called progression, it was still like, you know, peaks and valleys in that as well. Because it's like, the school closes, you just kind of thrown in the fire at that point.
Yeah, during your teaching job, what did you learn from that experience that was able to help you in your own experiences?
That was huge. I think what teaching does is it makes you look at yourself harder than you look at your students. I learned a whole lot about myself in regards to patience. I learned about my abilities, um, my my knowledge of music, my knowledge of theory. Um, so when you're teaching, like you're also continuously keeping yourself sharp. So what that caused me to do was, I was picking up more theory books, and I was kind of brushing the dust off of my theory, and I'm brushing the dust off of my scales and, different drills and all that stuff. Cause I'm like, yo, if I'm up here rusty, I can't expect them to be progressing in any way. And on top of that, I was teaching that at a special ed school, K through 12. I had high school kids, so I mean, my kids were basically they were all court appointed to be in that school. A lot of them were in and out of jail. Every last one of them had lawyers. So with a lot of them, this was like their only connector to the school. Like I had a student one time, he had F's all up and down his report card, except he had an A in music because music was the only class he would come to. He was a drummer. He was good. And he would come to my class 6th period. He would leave to go back on the streets 7th period. And it's funny because those are the kids, like I still keep in contact with him. Those are the kids that, stick closely to you because they understand that you care, and they kind of see a value in you as well. So I mean, I learned a whole lot working that job. I also learned how the education system works and how much of a farce it is. But I guess that's another episode.
The fact that you were teaching like those particular types of kids who were very much in the streets, getting in trouble. What did you have to sort of learn or pick up to be able to handle, teaching these sort of kids?
I think my number one thing with them was just kind of showing you who you are early. A lot of those kids, they come from just ridiculous backgrounds. Because I mean, I had learning disabled kids. I also had emotionally disabled kids. A lot of kids with ADHD, all this kind of stuff, and they were just all lumped together, which is you normally just don't even do that. But
that's kind of crazy that all that type of stuff is just lumped in together.
Yeah. Because I mean, a lot of times LD kids will learn from ED kids, and then they start becoming oppositionally defined and all that kind of stuff. It's just man, look, we'll be here all day. Very much just be upfront with, like, my thing was upfront. The first couple of days was just kind of letting them know that this is a special ed school. A lot of times I think people were allowing them to kind of lean on those titles and all that kind of stuff. And I would tell them, I'd be like, yo, man, you're not special ed in my class. Like, you guys are kids. Like, I want to, make sure that they know that they're regular. Like, you guys are regular. I would be like, when you guys step out on that sidewalk, I was like, if a cop harasses you, if a cop arrests you, if something happens, like, they're not going to want to see your IEP. They're not going to want to know your disability. Like, they're going to treat you like anybody else. So when you come in here, you're going to get treated like everybody else. And normally that would kind of bring the guard down a little bit, because they know that they're at that point they're being cared for. It was just a lot, because I would kind of look at it in the perspective of a lot of these kids don't see positive black male role models, like day to day throughout the week. It's not happening until they come into my class. So I'm here. Like, I'm here to talk with you if you're going through something. Maybe we don't need to play music today. Maybe we need to talk about what's going on. If there's something going on in the school, if there's like a fight that's brewing, there's some beef that's brewing, like let's talk it out. Like let's get it out. Let's talk about some solutions. It was more of a life class with a music foundation, basically. So, when like teachers are severely underrated, particularly in that type of setting. It wears on you emotionally just day in and day out. Because I saw a lot in that place, and to this day when I'm in the car, like I barely listen to music anymore because when you were in there, it was just noise, just all the time. And then I would have to just take, I'd have to come away from that and just be in a silent space. But I mean, all in all, man, like I said with the student that I talked about a couple minutes ago, I still keep in touch with a handful of students, and that was what we're going on, I think 7 years now. So, I've seen music cause these kids to do complete 180s. I've seen it with my own eyes, and it's incredible. I wouldn't be in the classroom now, but I still do workshops with kids. I still do master classes with adults. So I mean, education is still something that I continue to implement. Even in my career now.
Whether it was being in that class setting or even doing your music now, do you feel that you have a duty or just even a want to be that sort of Black role model for people out there?
That's a good question. I think yeah. I mean, I absolutely, because I mean, I would want kids to follow me and as far as work ethic or presentation, good music, or even how I play, all of that kind of stuff. I definitely think it. I mean, it's all encompassing. I think as far as just being. I don't know. That sounds weird, but I guess being in the public eye, if that even makes sense. I really don't consider myself to be any type of famous dude, but I would love to. I would love to continue to be that for people. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know during that time when you were a teacher, I know you had some fun times during that because I know you used to share the little funny stories that would go on in class.
Man,
you could have wrote a book of all that stuff.
Yeah, and I actually still can, man. It was hilarious, and I mean, it wasn't anything where I was like, excuse me, where I was like calling the kids by name or anything like that. It was just, some of the quotes, man. I still got them up on my site. I think some of the quotes were just hilarious. I mean, yeah, man.
I think that's something that I really have always liked about you. You've always had a sense of humor about everything. You've always, whether it's just the way that you portray yourself either online or in person, or even during the shows, the stuff that like you and Fonte and Nick will do on stage at the foreign exchange shows will be hilarious.
Yeah.
How important was it always to have the sense of humor about everything?
It's very important, man. It's really important, particularly in music. And I think that's why a lot of, especially musicians, have just a crazy sense of humor. A lot of times, I can go to, any city USA and get with some musicians and, within 5 minutes, we're just cracking jokes on each other as if we grew up with each other. So, it's something that just, it keeps the stress off. You know as well as I do, in particular, like with running like Ren Soul, there's a lot of stressors, man. There's a lot of just unnecessary, just bullshit, man, and you know, sometimes you just gotta keep a smile on, man, and laugh and make people laugh. I mean, it's always been who I've been. It's you know, it's just it's a personality thing, and I think a lot of times when you see us on stage or anything, you know, you're basically getting a looking glass in on how we are all the time. Like this is what it is. Like we're bringing our family to you. You get to see us cut up live, you know, and in color. You know, if me and Carmen are on stage and we're bantering back and forth, or you know, cutting on each other and all, like that's how we do. Like it's fun, and it's even more fun, you know, sometimes when you get to have an audience that sees you and it's like, oh man, they just like us. They just like me and my crew. You know, we cut on each other all the time. So, you know, it's very, very relatable, but I mean, it's super natural, man. Very natural.
For a while now, you've long been an integral part of the foreign exchange family with Nicolay and Fonte. You know, when did that first sort of happen that you were you know, brought into the fold to be able to make music with them, doing your own projects, and to be, you know, performing and doing music with the foreign exchange?
That piece happened in '07. I met Fonte, ironically, at the Blind Pig. Little brother had a show. I think it was like September. Me and dates. I'm like Rain Man. It was like September of '05, and I mean that's the day I met. That's the day I met Fonte. I think I met D-Brock that day, and I think I met Pooh that day as well. But you know, I went to the show because at the time, if you remember, I had the Redefinition album out.
Right.
So Redefinition had two Little Brother remixes on it. So obviously I'm a Little Brother fan. So I'm like, yo, I think I had heard that Fonte had heard the remixes. So I was basically just going to the show just to check it out. I knew that Elzai was going to be on it, so I wanted to hear that. So go check out the show, say what's up to Tay. You know, appreciate you listening to the remixes. And I was going to bounce. So I ended up saying what's up to Fonte afterwards. And I'm like, yo, man, I'm Zoe, blah, blah, blah. He was like, yo, I know who you are. And I was like, word? And so we just kind of started talking. I think he said that he had my album on his iPod already, and we exchanged information. And literally 3 months later was when I sent him the Stepping Out joint for my first Just Visiting, for him to sing the hook. I can't even remember why I asked him to sing the hook and not to rap on something, but he was feeling it. I think he sent it back like the next day, and that was the first time we worked together. So after that, it was what was it? Was it Africa? I'm trying to remember. But I know the big thing was him asking me to do If She Breaks Your Heart for the Foreign Exchanges album on Leave It All Behind. And so I ended up doing that, which is a Stevie Wonder remake. Ended up doing that. Nicolay did the second half where it kind of has the Latin feel. And then right after that was when we did When Everything Is New, because When Everything Is New was supposed to be an intro for my upcoming album. Like he had sent the hook and all that stuff. When Everything Is Young, Fresh and New, he sent me the hook. And then I think Pooh heard it and wanted it for Little Brother's album. So Fonte hit me and was like, yo, man, you want yo, can we use it for the little? I was like, hell yeah, you can use it for the Little Brother. Y'all gonna get it further than I am. So they ended up using it for that, and then, but it was particularly after the Foreign Exchange, If She Breaks Your Heart joint. I remember having a conversation with Tay, and he was like, yo, when we go out on the road, we want to do it differently. Like we want to have a band, and you know, I don't know how we're gonna do it. I don't know if it's gonna be like Nicolay DJing and you playing keys, or you know, I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we want you on the road with us. And I was like, man, just let me know. And so probably about a year after that, I mean, we started rehearsing here in DC in my classroom, and we started going on the road. We had our first show in New York City at the Highline Ballroom in November of '08. Damn near 10 years ago.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it pretty much that's how it started, and it pretty much just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, the foreign exchange has become they've been able to be a very groundbreaking independent entity for, soul music over these past 10 plus years. And then you were
Yeah,
already on your journey. How did that experience linking up with them sort of help what you were doing? What did you learn from that whole experience?
I think it was a kind of a partnership made in heaven type of thing. Um, I don't know what forces brought that together. I'm not sure. I, I have to uh, I have to give glory to the Most High for that one, just because I mean it was very much hand in glove. I think. I think just even with when we started working on, 'cause we started working on the '80s album pretty much immediately. Um, which damn, you know what? In like a week and a half, that'll be a 10-year-old album. Good God. Um, but yeah, we started working on that pretty much immediately. Then we started working on um, Just Visiting 2, which led into Sunstorm, and it's just crazy, man. Like I mean, our work ethics are the same. Me and Fonte, we keep the same hours. We're both night owls. So I mean, working on albums and working on projects is nothing. I mean, it's nothing for me to get a 4 a.m. text and answer it. It's nothing for him to get a 3 a.m. call and answer it. And we're just there working. We're normally on the same page with everything. Um, it's been super easy. Um, and just like how I described, our humor on stage, like our working together is very, very, very natural. And even with Nicolay, like he and I started getting in the studio here pretty much annually, kind of semi-annually. And with the two of us just being the producers, the cats on the production side, we didn't know what that was going to look like. So we just kind of got in the studio, played around, and next thing you know, here comes Tales in Atlanta, Milk and Honey that we did together. So I mean, it's really been, I don't know, man. It's been kind of perfect. Like the working relationship and the chemistry has been crazy because I mean, not only are they my working partners, these are my my competitors. These are my brothers, man. Like these are my dudes. If I'm in North Carolina, we get up, we have some food and all that. It's dope. It's been kind of perfect.
After all these years, musically, what things about it all do you feel like you're the most comfortable with? And then what parts of it do you feel like you're always still learning?
Always most comfortable in the studio. Always most comfortable in the studio. That I always say that's the fun part. The fun part is creating. Um, the fun part is releasing the music uh, among the people and watching their reactions. Watching, you know, your stuff start trending, and that's like releasing new music will never get old to me. Never, ever, ever. Um, I think the place that I'm still learning is the business side, and I'll say that because um, it's ever evolving. Like from Sunstorm, which is now almost 8 years ago, to Man Made to Skybreak. Um, we don't even approach releasing the albums the same anymore. I remember with Sunstorm coming out, all these, I'm doing all these different interviews for all these different like blogs and all this, it was crazy. And then Man Made came out and that kind of happened a little less. And then you kind of, start seeing a little bit of streaming stuff and, that all that stuff becomes a little, it's foreign. And then when Skybreak came out, there weren't really any blog interviews and, um, folks weren't really checking for like videos. It's really strange, man. The streaming sites are dope. Like I don't have anything really against streaming. I really would like for them to learn how to pay out their artists But I love the fact that due to streaming, you're able to get to new ears. People who, like this, there's always like artists similar to this one, up underneath what you're listening to, so you can check out some other stuff and maybe get put on to somebody new. So I love that. I love that. But I mean, this business is it's so unpredictable, man. There's stuff that trends and it doesn't trend for long. So you have to kind of keep up with the times, and like keeping your ear to the street now is so much more important than it was even 10 years ago. Just because, like I said, everything is just, it's ever evolving, man. It's ever evolving. So, I mean, I'm always a student to the business side of music. Even the touring side. The touring side is a pain in the ass too, especially since I'm pushing 40.
Right.
Yeah, man.
How are you sort of, swimming these musical waters these days, 2018? Because I feel with like everything you just said, and then when you sort of take into account that like with social media, all the like the new algorithms, meaning you have to pay for exposure and whatnot, that it's almost like you said, keeping your ears to the street, that we're gonna have to all go back to flyering parking lots again.
I mean, really, I've actually thought about it, and I really don't want to go that route because nobody likes to walk out to a flyer in their car. So I think what I do now, man, is I stick really close to my fan base. A lot of times when we go out of town, we know who we're gonna see. We know them normally by name. If we don't know them by name, we know them by face. Because after we come off stage, we're in the crowd. We're in the crowd, and we're selling merch. We're taking pictures. We're signing stuff. And what I like to do is, I like to encourage our core fan base. Bring somebody new, out who's never seen the show, so that way we can spread. And we're spreading still organically. Another thing that at least me and Carmen have started to want to do more is to do more opening slots, so that we're able to grow our fan base that way. If we're aligned with somebody like a Kendrick the Family Soul or Eric Roberson, these cats who have wider bases than we do, and we're able to get in front of those people. That's another way to kind of spread organically. So, but yeah, it's that algorithm thing, man. Just really, that's a bitch. that's man. I mean, you can't even put. It's even buzzwords. You can't put like the word tickets in your post, and they'll kind of slam it down. So it's just crazy, man. I don't feel like being in front of a camera all the time, and I don't want to be the dude who takes selfies all day and and got a caption underneath it that has nothing to do with your face. You know what I mean? Like it's social media is really becoming fucking annoying, man.
It really has, man. Just a couple years ago, you were able to like post something, get like, I don't know, a few hundred or 1,000 likes on Facebook. Now you get like 5,
Yeah. Like it's really frustrating, man. And I mean, who has the money if you're not even an independent artist? If you're just a person, paying everything out of pocket, who has the money every time you do a show to sponsor, to sponsor something, and then strategically place the text? Like, you can't have more than 20% text on your flyer, and like it's my God, yo, like, stop taking money out of our pockets, man. Just let us at least get a platform.
And when you're talking about your fan base and the people that come to your shows, I know a lot about that firsthand with because when it comes to the foreign exchange, I've opened up as a DJ for the foreign exchange shows since 2011. And what I can easily say is that the foreign exchange fan base, the fan base that you have, the fan base that for sort of adjacent artists are very open-minded. They just want to have fun. and they just want to have a good time at these shows, but they are definitely open-minded in regards to hearing new music.
Yeah, very, very much so, and that's what we like. We have a very, very dedicated listening um, fan base, man. And I mean, I figure anyway, if they're listening to us, then they're already open. They're already open-minded. Um, I love that. So that means that when we're creating, there's really nothing that we can't experiment with. Like we experimented with the straight ahead house joint on Tails with asking for a friend. That didn't sound like anything else that Effie had put out. Um, I've experimented with kind of stripped down piano drums with like Lake Erie. You know what I mean? So it's different directions that we can go in and still not fake out our fans. Like they'll still be right there with us, and that's dope. Like that's dope. That's fun.
Yeah, before I let you go today, I definitely have to bring up the infamous whack demo collection that you have.
Oh man. I haven't added to it in a minute. I've been slacking. Um,
But tell everybody what that is.
okay, the Whack Demo collection is basically it's called the Whack Museum. Um, and it it started off as a joke because I had I had so many like I had so many CDs in my possession, and like you hand somebody a CD, and they were like, yeah, I'll listen to it, whatever. But the thing is, like, we really listen to it. Like, if you hand us something, like, we'll really listen to it. And I'm not soliciting that. So I mean,
Right.
don't flood us with shit. But
Right.
I mean, we will listen just to check it out, because a lot of times, folks will talk it up. They talk, and then we be like, yo, man, the ones that be talking the most, like, that shit's the worst.
Always. Always.
So, we listen to it, and so I just started collecting it, and it's not everything, man. Like I said, it's all a part of the sense of humor. It's just like, sometimes you get some stuff that's special, man. Sometimes you get some special stuff, and you just got to keep it. You just got to keep it to the side, man. And it just lands in that playlist. It's pretty funny, man. It's pretty hilarious.
Great.
I'm surprised you remember that. That's funny.
I do remember that. We've had a few conversations.
Yeah.
I know. Tate from the Gorilla Funk Mob would always bring it up to me.
That's hilarious. Yeah, man. Yeah, that has brought multiple laughs. That used to be like my studio initiation. Like when I would have somebody new in the studio, like I would be like, yo, man, before we move forward, like you got to listen to like 4 jams, and I would play them some selections from the WAG Museum, and it's an icebreaker, man. You just kind of get folks doubling over in laughter. What better way to break the tension than to run some whack shit?
Right. Yeah. As we close this interview a bit, what I want to ask you is that what would be a lesson that anybody who's listening to this interview could sort of extract from your career, from your life, and sort of apply it to their own life and be able to that would be easily transferable?
I would say I'm trying to say some shit without being cliche as hell. Like I have it, but I don't want to sound like a fucking meme. But basically in short, just keep going. A lot of people, I get approached by a lot of people who either say, are waiting for the right time to start their own business. They're waiting for the right time to do such and such, such and such. I used to play piano, but I stopped because of blah blah blah, whatever. My thing is, man, just keep going, man. Like you really have to keep going. A lot of times we quit before something huge happens, in which none of us know when that's going to happen. But it's like I'd rather try than to never know. You know what I mean? Like if you have a business that you're trying to get cracking, at least start with like the paperwork, or start with your LLC, or start with your website, or start somewhere so to kind of get yourself moving, man. Because you never know. Like if you would have told me 15 years ago that this is what I would have been doing full time, I'd have told you was fucking nuts. So you know what I mean? It's just because you remain persistent. You start to see goals that you never know you were able to hit. You start to garner support from folks that you never knew were even paying attention to you. Funny enough, it's usually from them and not from folks who's closest to you. But never mind that. But just keep going, keep going after your dream, man. Like it's really never too late. Like I know that's cliche as hell, but it's never too late. Like if you want to learn an instrument, it's not too late. You just have to find the time and the work ethic, and you can knock it out. Like trust me.
Yeah, I think those are all things that all of us still are trying to grasp and learn and whatnot. That sometimes if something that you're doing isn't hitting, I don't know, keep going or change it up a little bit. All of our art matters in some way, so just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell folks all the time, like even when teaching like individual lessons, I always say that we as adults, we outthink ourselves out of everything. Like we outthink ourselves out of growing. So just I don't know. You kind of have to. Sometimes you have to form tunnel vision to get to where you're going. But yeah, like you said, just keep it going, man. Keep it going because you never know. You never know.
I always end all my interviews with the same question: who is somebody that's been a part of your life or career that I could realistically interview that would have some great stories or lessons to talk about?
Carmen Rodgers. She might be a good one. Have you done Waajeed yet?
I haven't done Waajeed yet. I've talked to him about it, but we still haven't just gotten in the same place at the same time to do it.
Yeah.
But he's definitely on the list.
Yeah. I would say, yeah. I know G would have some shit. I know for sure. Monica Blaire would be another one.
Oh, definitely.
And you sent me this before, and I said that I was gonna have some prepared answers, and I don't. You
it's
sent
all
me
good.
this, man, and I'm losing it.
I don't know. You just named three great ones, so that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm off the hook. All right.
You are off the hook. All right. Before we get out of here, where can people find more information about what you're doing online?
Usually everything is under the Zo35 moniker. So ZO, the number 3, HREE, the number 5, IVE, and that's .com. That's at Twitter, at Instagram, and also I think you can put it on Facebook now. You can put at Zo35 and have my page come up as well. So
awesome. It's been great talking with you, man. It's been known you for a long time. Always been a great person to know.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And I'm not going to say how long we've known each other, but it has been a minute.
Right, then we start telling our ages.
Exactly. As long as you don't start feeling it, you good.
That was my interview with Zo. More information about Zo, tour dates, and how you can listen to the music will be up on the show notes on the website at freshthepodcast.com. And on to the Fresh is the Word Fresh pick of the week. Usually each episode's pick is a current release, but for this episode, we're going to go back to a special album celebrating its 20-year anniversary. It's For Hero's major label debut, 2 Pages, from 1998. For Hero, comprised of musician-producers Mark Mack and Digo, released an album in 2 Pages that would break down all the barriers at that time, musically, spiritually, and lyrically. It was their third For Hero album, and the duo from London had already solidified themselves within the UK electronic music scene in the 1990s, producing music that spanned all sorts of genres, specifically drum and bass and breakbeats. With 2 Pages, Mark Mack and Digo produced something new, something that felt uplifting, and something that breathed new air into electronic music. 2 Pages was as much hip-hop as it was drum and bass, and was as much soul as it was jazz. It was spoken word as much as it was a whole cinematic score. 2 Pages was both a genre-defining and a genre-defying album that will forever leave its mark. The album, in mostly of its entireties, is on all the streaming sites, I believe. I did link the YouTube streaming on the case notes at freshasthepodcast.com, so definitely go give it a listen. And if you can, go find the vinyl or the CD for this for your collection. I definitely feel like this is something that you need in your collection. For Hero, 2 Pages, classic album, period. Now that's it for another episode of Fresh is the Word. And before we get out of here, I definitely want to remind you how you can support the podcast. You can always subscribe to Fresh is the Word on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Mixcloud, SoundCloud, Google Play, and TuneIn. Just type in Fresh is the Word and the podcast will come up. And please leave a review and a rating. And if I do see that you left one, I'll definitely read it on the show. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at KellyOmegaFresh and on Facebook at facebook.com/KFresh. And you can follow Fresh is the Word online on Twitter at FITW Podcast, on Instagram at Fresh is the Word Podcast, and on Facebook at facebook.com/FreshIsThePodcast. Well, that was another show. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.